Britain's Roswell: Mystery, Memory, and the Limits of Evidence. In December of 1980, something strange happened in a quiet forest in Suffolk, England. Near two U.S. Air Force bases, RAF Bentwaters and RAF Woodbridge, military personnel reported lights in the sky, an apparent object on the ground, and physical traces left behind. Over time, this episode became known as the Rendlesham Forest Incident, often called Britain's Roswell. The incident matters not because it proves anything extraordinary, but because it forces us to confront a harder question. How should we reason about extraordinary claims when the evidence is ambiguous, incomplete, and filtered through human perception? Let's begin with what happened. On the night of December 26th, U.S. Air Force security personnel saw unusual lights descending into Rendlesham Forest. Believing a downed aircraft might be involved, a small patrol entered the woods. Several witnesses described a glowing object among the trees, triangular in shape, with colored lights and a smooth surface. One of those airmen later said, quote, that he approached the object and saw strange markings on it, end quote. The following morning, small indentations were found in the ground and radiation readings were taken. 2 nights later, on December 28th, additional lights were observed in the sky. Some witnesses described beams appearing to descend into the forest and nearby fields. The incident gained lasting attention largely because of Lieutenant Colonel Charles Halt, the deputy base commander. Halt later said, quote, that he personally observed unusual lights and considered them unexplained, end quote. He documented the event in a formal memo and recorded an audio tape while investigating the forest. Others who helped bring the case to public awareness include Jim Penniston and John Burroughs, who were among the first responders, and Nick Pope, who later publicized the case while working for the British Ministry of Defense. So what do we make of this? Those who view Rendlesham as evidence for non-human intelligence point to several features. First, the witnesses were trained military personnel, not casual observers. Second, the events unfolded over multiple nights, not as a single fleeting sighting. Third, there was contemporaneous documentation, notes, memos, and recordings, not just memories recalled decades later. There were also claims of physical effects, ground impressions, and elevated radiation readings. And the incident occurred near bases associated with nuclear-capable aircraft, a pattern some argue appears in other UAP cases. From this perspective, Rendlesham does not look like a random light in the sky. It looks purposeful, structured, and close. But that is only one side of the ledger. Critics argue that the same evidence can be explained without invoking non-human intelligence. One explanation centers on the Orford Ness Lighthouse, located a few miles away. Its rotating beam, seen through trees at night, can appear to move, change color, and even seem to approach or retreat. Others have pointed out that bright stars, meteors, and atmospheric distortions can appear extraordinary under stress, darkness, and unfamiliar conditions. Later analysis suggested that the radiation readings were low and consistent with normal background variation. As researchers have noted, quote, no material evidence of exotic technology was ever recovered, end quote. The ground indentations lacked clear mechanical characteristics. No debris was found, no anomalous materials were collected. And many of the more dramatic claims, symbols, telepathic messages, encoded downloads, only emerged years later, without independent corroboration. This matters because memory is not a recording device. It is reconstructive. Over time, narratives grow, details sharpen, and meaning accumulates, especially when an event becomes culturally significant. At its core, the Rendlesham debate is not just about lights in a forest, it's about standards of inference. Extraordinary claims require more than unexplained experiences. They require positive evidence, evidence that points uniquely to non-human intelligence and excludes known human, natural, or psychological explanations. This is where principles like Occam's razor become relevant. Occam's razor does not say the simplest explanation is always true. It says we should not multiply assumptions beyond necessity. To explain Rendlesham as non-human intelligence requires assuming advanced technology, unknown agents, and purposeful visitation. To explain it as misperception, environmental effects, and incomplete data requires assumptions we already know to be true about human perception and the natural world. That does not mean the witnesses were lying. It does not mean they were foolish. It means that sincerity is not the same as accuracy. So what kind of evidence would Rendlesham need in order to seriously support the claim of non-human intelligence? It would need something that is currently missing: recoverable material with unknown manufacturing characteristics, unambiguous multi-sensor data showing performance beyond human technology, or independently verifiable technological signatures inconsistent with anything we know humans can produce. Rendlesham provides none of those. What it does provide is a valuable lesson. It shows how authority, uncertainty, and expectation interact. It shows how easily unexplained can slide into extraordinary without crossing the evidentiary gap required to justify that leap. The Rendlesham Forest Incident is not trivial. Something unusual happened, but unusual is not the same as otherworldly. As evidence for non-human intelligence, Rendlesham falls short. As a case study in how humans reason about the unknown, it is invaluable. It reminds us that skepticism is not cynicism, it is discipline, and that the distance between mystery and meaning is far greater than we often want it to be. Thank you. If you enjoy these videos, please like and subscribe. If you have thoughts or other topics you want covered, please comment.